we talked about the college level as well, and how essentially I kind of brought up to how I had all these guys talk about the NBA, but a lot of them haven't played college basketball yet. So what I'll say is, and kind of what we're talking about is that a lot of times, the best player, like the best players in your area, there's a good chance they're gonna play at the D3 level. So we're kind of discussing the D3, D2, D1, JUCO, like these levels, but also trying to understand how what the differences were. Because here's the thing, we talked about this before too. The top 5% of high school seniors who play basketball are going to play at the college level. 5% of them will play. Okay, so for you, what you need to understand about that is that if you're in that top 5%, like you can hoop, you can play. You're a really, really good player if you're in that top 5%. And again, there's not a huge difference between, now, obviously the top guys there, those high majors, the guys who are going one and done, they're on a different level from everybody else. Everyone else, though, very, very similar in terms of skill. There's going to be some differences in size and athleticism, but skill-wise, there's not a big difference between that guy who's at the top of that, maybe in the top 2%, and the guy who's in the top 5%, right? Like, there's not a huge difference right there. So, few of those top 5% though are gonna play at the D1 level. Probably like I believe it was 0.07 or 0.7 or zero point 0.8 of those guys out of those 5% play at the D1 level. Most of the guys are playing at the D3 or D2 level, and so the chances are, unless you play in a great basketball area, or a great basketball, you go to a great basketball school, the best players in your area, most of them are probably going to the D3 level. Most of them probably are. And here's the thing, I play with a ton of, not a ton, but I play with numerous D1 guys throughout. I played with and against numerous D1 guys between actual like games, between between tournaments, between camps, stuff like that. I've played against a bunch of different Division 1 players, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I was kind of making a list of guys I played against. The three best players I've played with or against are all at the D1 level right now. So one of them plays at Delaware, one of them plays at Princeton, one of them plays at St. Francis. And those are the three best players I've ever played with or against, just in terms of their skill, athleticism, like, combination of those things. But the next two players in my top five are both at the D3 level, right? So one of them I played AAU with, he ended up, he was a dude who just could flat out score. Like, he could just get buckets. On the perimeter, he was just, I saw him just light teams up when we played AAU. He would just light teams up, and it didn't matter because teams knew what he could do. He would just light dudes up. And, we would go, like, we'd play against some D1 talent, and he'd hold his own. And, like, there were games where he would dominate against guys who were going to the D1 level. And he ended up. I know he had some low major interests at the D1 level, but he ended up going to a D3 school, and he ends up. I believe he led his conference in scoring this past year as a sophomore, and he's a guy who like you look at and it's like this guy can just straight up hoop. Like, he is a great player. And again, you can see it kind of paying off down the line. But a guy and here's the thing, I have D1 guys on my list below him in terms of how good I think they are. Like, I think he's better than some of those guys, right? And he went to the D3 level. The next guy, and honestly, you could probably switch these guys 4 or 5, whatever you want it to be. The next guy, also on the AAU team, plays at the D3 level now. And he was another guy who was just, first team All-State in my state, like, just crazy good. And so he's another guy at the D3 level, and he, this past year, had 45 points in the first round of the NCAA tournament at the D3 level. Scored 45 points in a college game, right? And as a sophomore, like, both of those guys are, I could see them being All-American level players at the D3 level over the next couple of years. And those, like I said, there are D1 guys who I would put below them that I played against. Like, that's how good, like, people don't understand how good D3 basketball is. Like, depending on where you play, it is great. And the thing that I'll tell people is that, like, regardless of the level, if you can hoop, you can hoop. There are plenty of guys who go pro from the D3 level. I don't know how many of you guys watch Devontae Friga, right, on YouTube, but he's another D3 guy, and he's going pro. Like, if you can hoop, you can hoop, okay? And another guy that you can look at, Duncan Robinson, who plays for the Heat now, but he went to Williams College in Massachusetts, the only school that he was giving him a spot out of he did a post grad year. He had a D3 offer from Williams College, so goes there, has a great freshman year, then gets recruited by a bunch of different D1 schools, ends up going to Michigan on a full scholarship his next year. First, I believe he was the second player ever to go from a D3 school to a full scholarship at a D1 school. Goes to Michigan, helps lead them to a national title game appearance, then goes to the Miami Heat and breaks the record for most three-pointers in a game. Now he's playing in the NBA on a $1.4 million guaranteed contract. Like, that guy started off at the D3 level. So there's a huge misconception when it comes to the levels of basketball where guys think, oh, D3 basketball is not that good. No, it's great, guys. Like, any level of college basketball is just, there's a lot of great players there. So, in fact, to illustrate this more, there are D3 rosters, elite D3 rosters that are better than some low major D1 rosters. That's just a fact. There are some D3 rosters that are better than D1 rosters. Okay, and we can kind of do a deep dive into that. But like, I actually did some research on this a while ago on, you know, what the worst D1 team is in the country, and I'm thinking about that school right now. I can name you 10 D3s right now who would beat that school. 10 D3s who would beat that D1 school. It's not about the level, guys. It's about the program that you actually are playing at. So that's just kind of, you know, what I was thinking of. A ton of D3 rosters that are better than D2 rosters. A ton of them. A ton of those elite schools are better than D2 schools in terms of the actual basketball being played there. So forget about the level of college basketball. If you can play in the college level, you can hoop. That's just as simple as it is. And you know, that's why I always tell players to, I got another DM, you know, I believe it was last week or maybe this week. It was a player was asking me, he was like, hey coach, like, I want to be a pro one day. Which, here's the thing, guys, I talked about this whole, like, guys say, hey, I want to play in the NBA. Like, I'll help you guys out. I'll answer your questions when you have specific. This was a good question you asked me. He said, coach, like, what can I do to put myself in a position to be a pro one day? Okay, that's a good question. I told him, I was like, listen, you need to make sure that you focus on these. I gave him a couple skills he needed to have. And then I told him, I was like, listen, you need to make sure that you set yourself up to get to the best position for the college level. Keep your grades up. Like, give yourself the most amount of opportunities you have, because again, if you can play, the right eyes will find you in terms of the pro level. But when it comes to college, make sure you have the most amount of options possible. So a lot of these elite D3 basketball schools are also elite academic schools, right? So a school like Johns Hopkins, for example, that's one of them. A lot of schools in my state that are elite D3s are also the best academic schools. And so obviously you want to play there, you've got to have great grades. So what I say to players is make sure you keep your grades up, because then when it comes time for recruiting, all that stuff, you have the most amount of options. And again, a lot of times you can end up playing at an elite basketball school that's also an elite academic school. And that all stems from you putting in the work in the classroom and not slacking off because you feel like, oh, D1 or bust. Don't be that kid who's D1 or bust. Don't do that. Take what options you have given to you and figure out what's going to be the best of the best interest for you. But again, put yourself in the best position possible to play at the next level. Okay? That's kind of what it comes down to. So, you know, again, I don't want to come across as like saying like, oh, you can't play at D1. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying understand that the level is just not everything. Okay? It's not the whole thing. And also, there are guys who are going to play D2 basketball, who are going to play D3 basketball, who are going to get paid a lot of money to play basketball one day. Simple as that. Okay, whether that's in America, overseas, there are guys who are going to make a living playing at the D2, D3 level, going to go on and they're going to get paid for it. Okay, that's the goal, right? Get paid. So if that's your goal, make sure, again, you set yourself up to have the best chance to do that by obviously working on your skills. Obviously, we'll go back to where we started, making sure that you are working smart, you are taking the right approach to the game, and you know you have your goals, your vision that you're going after. You set goals that are going to push you, and at the same time, you with those skills that you're working on, you develop your ability to impact winning, and you excel in the role that you have. Okay, you excel in those skills that you need to excel in that role, and combine that with the stuff off the court. So you keep your grades up. Now you have all these opportunities for yourself, and at the end of the day, that's when you can prove yourself. You can hoop. You can hoop. That's what it comes down to. I want to hook you guys up with my free elite perimeter scorer workout. This workout is going to help you develop the skills that you need to be an elite scorer on the perimeter. And I'm going to send it to you guys completely free. All you need to do is click the top link in my description below. I'll get that right to you.